The Rural Inclusion and Sustainability Film Festival is back for its third year, amplifying rural voices and focusing on critical themes like climate action, gender-based violence and economic inclusion. This unique festival is not just about films, it's about empowering communities and sparking meaningful conversations. We're thrilled to welcome the festival's director, Gugu Sithole, to discuss how this year's event is driving impact in rural areas and beyond. Gugu, good to speak to you. Now, you certainly appear to be in one of those rural locations. Tell us where you are and about the theme that you focused on this year.
Right. So I'm currently at Obonjaneni, that's in the Drakensberg near Bergville. We're doing a festival called Rural Inclusion and Film Festival. So this year is really, about, economy. It's about boosting, the local economy. It's about training, these youngsters in filmmaking and editing, and just ensuring that they're able to sustain their livelihoods, through film, through arts and preservation of culture.
Gugu, young people are such an amazing sponge. When they collect information, they're inspired, they're enthused, they're excited and imagine about getting into film. Walk us through the impact that all of this has had and the reaction or response that you've gotten from young people in rural South Africa.
Well, I mean, the impact is huge, and I always say it, and it sort of like moves on to other industries as well, because we're talking about boosting local businesses like accommodation, restaurants and transport, creating job opportunities in event planning and catering, in logistics and other services. We're talking local artisans that are getting exposed, through this festival. So the impact is huge. We really have seen from when we started 3 years back until now, the impact, the continuity and where they are now as compared to where they were back then. So it's all about, ensuring sustainable communities. It's all about ensuring, that they're able to continue way after we've left, their communities.
So I'd imagine that the various themes that these young people would use in coming up with the various films. What sort of inspires, or what are some of the underlying factors that are then emerging? Because I'd like to imagine that much of film is almost a social commentary, if you will, where young people are reflecting what it is that they're going through, what they're witnessing, and coming up with some of these films.
For sure. I think, the themes that stand out currently are definitely, heritage. We find that, there's a lot of awareness around who they are and the preservation of heritage. We see global warming, issues that are, talk to conservation and ensuring that they preserve these through storytelling for future generations. So those two are really coming out, the pride of their communities, telling their own story, packaging them and telling them, in their own narrative, unique stories. So that's what we're picking up.
Now, something that you've also talked about is the festival and its contribution to gender-based violence and climate change. How does this contribution come to the fore?
So, that, with, lack of employment opportunities sees an increase in GBV. So when people are employed, when they've got things to do, then it keeps them busy. When there's food on the table, there's less tempers, there's less, violence. So we find that it creates a, peaceful environment where people are focusing on building communities more than anything else.
Gugu, now, if we want to watch some of these films, where do we find them?
They are definitely on our, social media page. We've got the RIFS, which is RIFS, so Rural Inclusion and Film Festival. We've got them on YouTube as well. So these stories are made by, the youth from these communities, edited by them, through the various workshops and trainings that we offer. And we're here, as I speak, in the community of Bonjaneni, and the community is now witnessing, and watching the films that are made by their own children. children, which is just, an historic moment, a beautiful moment. When you see a movie on TV, when you see a documentary, it looks far-fetched. And today they're watching, their own, created by their own in their own communities. It's totally amazing.
I know you're excited about that, but just walk us through some of the reactions that you've gotten from parents or grandparents or brothers or sisters when they're seeing some of their own in the movies, and also when they're creating this amazing content.
So it's really been like, oh my gosh, we never thought this happens here. We hear of things, we see these things, they're far-fetched, they're far in Johannesburg, they're in the cities, they're in Durban, they're in Cape Town. And for you to tell us that this is happening here in our backyard as something that we've never dreamt of, when we're coming here and saying, spreading word that this is what we plan on doing, and these children were coming here, learning and taking it all in. The parents didn't understand what it was all about, and for them to see it today, they're saying, "Oh my gosh, we've been hearing about this. We are doing film, we are training, we're going to a workshop, and this is it." For them seeing it's surreal. It's something out of this world, that it was created here by the people of the village, for them to see. It's out of this world.
Okay, so year 3, lots of excitement. What's on the horizon?
So what we've been doing now is really, teaching, and training and packaging, their own stories and monetizing it, because we want to ensure, sustainability. So we are chatting to various establishments, especially the tourism establishments in the area, hotels, adventure activities areas, to say, here are kids that have the skill, to package, to sell, your establishments, that have learned so much about the impact as well of over tourism, of attracting the right kind of tourists to the area, those that want to leave the areas better than they found them. So they've got so many stories. They've got, so many, stories, as well as call to action in terms of what can be done to preserve, the culture, the heritage, and ensure that they get as much business as possible. So it's all about, starting their own businesses, reaching out to local businesses and see how they can partner. So they're also getting trained in just ensuring that they're able to package that and sell themselves.
The Rural Inclusion and Sustainability Film Festival Director, Gugu Sithole, coming to us from Bonjaneni in northern Drakensberg. She unpacks certainly some of the conversations and stories that young people in rural South Africa are telling, focusing on climate change and GBV, amongst other issues.